Well, welcome everyone to Crafty Chat, and this is episode number 15. And with this one, we're starting to broadcast or premiere our episodes every 2 weeks instead of weekly, just as our days have filled with other things. So hope you're still tuning in and haven't lost us. So speaking of the other things that we're doing, that's kind of our focus for today's talk is about doing daily practice challenges via the Creative Bug website. So there's plenty of classes on there. Lots of different ways to search for them. They do have a tab that is just daily practice, but also you can search by using terms like 30-day or certain challenge or something like that, and you'll get some other ones that come up. I don't know, it's kind of confusing to me how they have it laid out, but
there's not really, because the videos don't have a tagging system, so there's not really a way to just like search either daily practice or 30-day challenge, or some of them are even 31-day challenge. So if you search 30-day, the ones that are 31 days aren't going to come up. So it's kind of, you have to use a couple different search terms to get a bigger picture of like all of the stuff that they offer. But I just found a new one today that was colored meditations, so I added that to my list of things.
Oh yeah, I had that on my list.
I think I did too, so maybe
that'll be our next one.
Maybe that's round 2.
Yeah, our hope is to do more of those, to do these daily challenges like every other month and present it to you with our experience and help you to feel more like maybe you know, because sometimes you need to know more and, you know, to help you, the person out there, approaching that for yourself. And to not feel so overwhelmed by it, especially because sometimes the supply list can be really long, but, you know, there can be different things you can use. You don't always have to have those specific supplies, so.
Yeah, Heidi brought up something really cool, and we were discussing which challenge we wanted to do, the three of us together. We had a lot of discussions because we're experienced crafters and we kind of have done stuff for a while. What some of the hurdles could be for folks to like not want to get into a particular challenge, or just kind of knowing what to expect up front from each challenge. So we looked at stuff like, what does the supply list look like? How long would each challenge be every day? And what's the feasibility of doing that on a busy schedule? What's the monetary cost up front for supplies? Because the time investment for a lot of these things is largely the same. It's between like 2 minutes and 10-15 minutes, so it's not a huge block of time. It's a pretty small block of time. So that kind of, you know, we pro-conned a lot of different ones, starting with the ones that we thought were the most interesting to us individually, and kind of discussing the ones that we omitted from there and decided that we weren't going to do. So, like, the ones that we looked at heavily were 30 days to a more creative life, 30 days of portraits or faces, was that it?
Faces, yeah.
Faces, 30 days of faces. We looked at, I don't have my list in front of me, so
there was gratitude. There's one about a gratitude journal.
Right.
Yeah, we did look at that one.
Which looked really cool and interesting, but I felt like after coming off the altered book that took a fair amount of emotional input, and then like it looks like a great program though. I'll put the link so people can go check it out and just watch her overview of it, because I was so impressed that she's like, this can be very emotional and it might be triggering, and if it does, you know, seek these resources. I was just like, oh my God, what am I getting into? But at the same time, I think it'd be a really wonderful process. So, I don't know.
Yeah, that one I think was all of our second choice. That was on all of our lists, because that one we thought was really good. But yeah, Heidi, I was kind of in the same boat that you were, of like, am I ready to do something this emotionally investment, like high emotional investment? So other than that, it looked amazing. I was really excited about it. And then we also did look at the Rebecca Ringquist embroidery series.
Yeah.
Looked at that monthly challenge.
I'm ready to jump into embroidery.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next one. I like that one because there's a kit you can buy for it, and then it's just like everything is, you know, That's
And
all.
the kit's pretty affordable, actually.
Yeah, I think it was
So,
only
like, the print-
$15. So.
Yeah, the just the printed fabric is 18
Okay.
for that, and then whatever your embroidery floss costs, and then I can't remember what the full kit costs for her, but it was under $30, I think, or maybe around that. I could be wrong. I can check
Yeah,
that.
I have to look it up.
Wasn't there one that was like playing around with pattern or something like that?
Yes,
There
it
was
was.
Pattern Motifs. Yeah.
Oh, pattern motifs. Okay.
That one looked fun too. I did like that one.
Yeah. There are a lot. I mean, we all had many ideas of ones we could easily, I think, have jumped into. So,
So
we know how many there are.
Yeah. So we settled on the 30 Days to a More Creative Life.
Mm-hmm.
And the presenter for that one is...
Courtney Cerruti, who was in the one that I did with the altered book. So I
Yeah.
thought that was funny. I was like, oh, I have her.
Well, I mean, I've learned from this challenge that she's like actually works at the Creative Bug office.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. That was really cool. Watching her kind of wander around San Francisco and talk about the things that were local to her. And then she also mentions other Creative Bug creators that are in different satellite offices. One in New York with the paper flowers is
Right.
That was like day 4 of that particular challenge. So it's been really cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know we're going to save talking about our current challenge more for like our spin-off series that we'll do about that. But I will say, just even starting with it, we've done now 7 days of it, 8, right? 7 days.
7.
That already it does have me looking at things differently. Like, I mean, I take a walk every day, so now I'm just more conscious of where my eyes are going on my walk based on stuff she's talked about. So that's just been valuable too, looking at these challenges, thinking about like going forward, picking a different challenge. It's something to think about, like, what am I getting in the actual moment that I'm creating and I'm watching the video, or what will this give me beyond the time that I'm watching it? And maybe we just hit on a great challenge for that kind of thing, but that's been sort of interesting and eye-opening to me, and something I think that I would personally seek in like picking out other Creative Bug challenges.
Yeah. I felt like a lot of the stuff that she talked about early on is applicable to my creative process at large. So just like daily things that you can stick into what you're already doing. So I already do a lot of planning. I'm a little out of practice, and I need to get back into actually journaling every day, or at least filling out. So she does like a 6 things you saw, 6 things you did, and then 1 thing you overheard, and doing that every day. I have trouble filling in stuff every day in my planner. So like that's something that's super easy for me to, even if I do half of that, only 3 each, and then 1 thing you overheard, that's really easy for me to integrate to what I already do or what I already want to be doing every day. So I find those types of challenges more helpful than this big thing of like, get out your watercolors, get out your micron pens, your India ink, and do this, like do a painting every day. And she does talk about that where, she was like, well, last year I was trying to do like a painting every day, and that was, really stressful, and we're not going to do that. So I was grateful for that.
Yeah, it's nice that these are like little things that you can carry with you. And also her prompts are not, I was kind of surprised. I didn't realize it's not like we're doing a thing every day. Like she's just talking about like say how to be just creating a more conscious mind about how your activities.
Right.
Yeah. I did have a hard time with the things you've overheard, because that was a funny thing too, starting to watch this daily challenge. I'm like, we're in a very different situation than when and like we're not around people. And if I am, I'm distant. Like if somebody's walking by saying something, I'm trying to stay far enough away where I really don't overhear what they say.
I had the same feeling, but then I'm still consuming a lot of content digitally. So one of the things that I did was like I watched Philosophy Tube on YouTube. It's a philosophy YouTube channel that talks about a lot of different topics. And there was a quote that he used in one of his videos. His name is Oliver Thorne. That really stuck with me. So that was what I wrote for that day, was that quote. Because it kind of falls under the overheard, but since we're not out in public as much as we would have been before the pandemic,
right.
I was like, I got to improvise somehow. And that was just the easiest way for me to improvise, or like something stupid that I heard on a TV show or something funny. Or
I thought about that because I have like we had this WCBN on right now, the college radio station, and it's all archive shows. Mm-hmm. And I was doing something else, so it's just in the background, and all of a sudden I hear him giving the weather report, and he's like, it's 43 degrees right now, and there should be some snow later tonight. And I'm like,
God, I wish.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty good.
It's we're going on day 15 of high 90s and no rain.
I know.
For folks watching this in the present or in the future, it is
back to this time.
Yeah.
I used a movie line for that because I struggled too. I was like, I haven't overheard anything. I mean, and I'm sure I have, and maybe now I need to be more cognizant of that too. Even just like within the people I live with, what have they said that's been like, and like in my family, we typically keep track of those things all the time. Like my daughter has this running notes on her iPhone of like ridiculous things that my mom has said, you know. I know, they're pretty funny.
I like that a lot.
But you know, or we have Post-its by our dinner table of like things that just someone, but so it's like I am overhearing, but in that moment I was like, wait, I haven't overheard anything, you know.
Yeah. The momentary panic. I remember doing that a lot more when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. And when I was with my family on more of a regular basis, because like we did a lot of family trips, and we would have a running list of every family trip, like what the fun jokes were, or what the dumb things, you know, that we would say. So like we did a family road trip up to the UP where we drove to Muskegon and took the car ferry from Muskegon to Manitowoc, Wisconsin, drove north through Wisconsin all the way around the UP, stopped in my dad's family's from Stevenson in the western UP. So we stopped to see family in Stevenson, then drove all the way through the UP and then down the Mackinac Bridge and hit the Mackinac Bridge on Memorial Day. This was like in 2013, 2014. God knows, before that, 2004. And one of the things my dad didn't schedule us a hotel in the UP until the day of. So he was like, well, I had this list of hotels before cell phones had good data connections. So he had like this printed list of hotels and started calling them and seeing who had one available. And there was only one hotel that had rooms available. So we made a reservation there. We're driving up to it, and it's around this bend. And when we get around the bend and look at the hotel, it looked like it hadn't been open in 20 years. The building was falling apart. Everything was super overgrown, and my mom just looked at my dad and was like, "Oh, John." So that one statement became a family joke for the next 20 years. So it like perpetuated through. So like those kind of things, those fun things that I love that. And I don't have a tendency not to notice those things so much anymore, that it's just my partner and I. Yeah. We do in the moment, but I don't keep a running tally of those. Yeah. And that I could see something of like having a better list of it. Yeah,
we sometimes put them also or on index cards and then like hang them on this. We have a door that's randomly metal, so we hang like magnetic things on it. And what's funny about that is that then if you take it and you look at it totally out of context, it's just like,
yeah.
You know? So it is kind of nice to have that paper reminder. And I guess we've gotten away from that. And this, like, I could see how this challenge would help me think about, you know, marking down what I'm hearing more.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. The one that I thought was the most fun, and tripped a memory for me that I didn't really see coming was, like day 3 was preparing for creativity, and she just did a bag dump of like what's all in my purse, and that was hysterical. When I first started getting into planning and planners, that was a big deal online, was like, what's your daily carry? What do you carry with you every day? What do you use every day? And do like a bag dump. And there'd be like these big, really gorgeously put out like photos of laid out of everything that you've got in your bag. And it was so nice to see as much trash in her bag as there is in mine.
Yeah, I know. She's like, oh, it's Kleenex. Oh no, it's not Kleenex. It's something else. It's yeah. I actually did that because I was like, wait, I have that same backpack. So okay, hold on. And I ran and got it, and I like packed it totally like hers. And I'm like, great. Where am I going? You know. I have this
valid question.
Bag ready to go.
That's a valid question. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm ready.
Me, and I went to pick up a hold at the library, and then we drove home, me and my bag. You know, it's like, I'm prepared, but for what?
Yeah.
That's.
I don't know though. I've run into so many situations where it's because we just run out for our walks. Like if we want to drive somewhere, just like grab my wallet, hop in the car, go walk, come home. But if it's earlier in the spring when the days were so gorgeous and it was nice and cool and sunshiny and we wanted to stay outside, those were the moments that I didn't have my journal and wanted to write, or I didn't have my knitting and wanted to sit and knit. And then I think back later of like, well, crap, I should have had all that with me. So I like that having a packed bag thing of the spontaneity of it. Yeah. But that's not necessarily something that I've been doing regularly and have been staying on top of. So.
No, it's been nice, like without actually going to work, because I carry so much stuff.
I
carry it. I never use any of it. I end up going on break. I don't touch a thing. I just like, no, I'm going to sit there and look at my phone, or I don't know, whatever. Or I end up going and talking to somebody. I don't read my book. I don't work on my needlepoint. No.
At one point,
I say what you're schlepping in and out. It's like, because what if?
And I'm like, well, this is my exercise. I will lug 50 pounds to and from work, and keep me
at
fit.
one point, Heidi, I think we were working at the same branch, and we were both going on lunch at the same time, and you had 2 bags and I had 3 bags, and I had this insane thought in my head of like, I have more bags. Stupid, but because I would ask myself that occasionally, maybe every 2 months or so, of like, why am I carrying this much crap? Like, why do I have all of this? Because I like carry a small pharmacy in my bag, or like, you know, hygiene or personal products, or like my gigantic pencil case, and then my knitting bag and an embroidery project, because I don't know what I'm going to want to do during the day, so I'm going to just bring everything with me. And then I'm looking at all of it when I get home or when I'm at work and have to like move it. Like, what the hell am I doing? What's wrong with me?
Well, and it would be like if you worked at the same place, but because in our situation we do move to different locations, so you don't ever leave anything anywhere, because the moment you do, you're not back there for a week or more, and you're like, I really need my thing, and now I got to go make a special trip. So, yeah.
No, but I have an office, but I still do the same thing. It's not like I don't want to leave my knitting. Like, what if I need that at home, you know? And, And I thought that would totally change when I had that space, and it's like, no, I realize it's the stuff. You just want those things, I guess, have meaning, whether or not you're using them during the day. Maybe that's what we should be realizing. Like, we've carried them with us because it makes us feel good to know they're around. So I wasn't leaving stuff at work and bringing different, you know.
Because it's the worst whenever you've ended up having to wait for something, and you're, you know, unexpectedly. And you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I don't have a book. I'm in my car and I've got like 15 minutes to sit here, and it's just like I could be doing anything, and I'm just stuck with my phone, and I don't really want to be looking at Instagram right now. So
yeah.
And I do like that. I do like how she's encouraging. That was one of her things. Like, when I have that spare time, don't pick up my phone. You know?
Yeah, that was hearing somebody else say that was. I enjoyed that. I was like, thank you for the reminder. I needed that reminder. That definitely did help.
And it can be something as simple as just like a pen and paper and do a contour drawing.
Yeah.
Which those are hard.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Okay, so I know that we're not supposed to tell things, but
it's okay.
I loved my contour drawings so much. No, because I thought they were hysterical. Yeah. So like this was my first one.
Oh, see, I like that. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
And then I did 4 more, and this is how much better they got.
Oh, mine got worse.
So the 2 in the middle weren't amazing, but because this was one of the ones in the middle, and I was like, that's a Muppet. That's not a cat. That's a Muppet.
Go in and like go in and do stuff to it afterwards. Here's like mine from this is my first one, and then I kind of one. It's just like this. I don't know what happened to it, but it's just like this little statue. But then so I'm like, yeah, I'll try and do another one. I was trying to get more detail, and it kind of started to get worse. And then I was like, well, I'm going to draw one on top of one and see what happens. And I'm just like, this is turning into garbage. But
that's actually kind of cool.
That's kind of cool.
I mean,
how do you not like how do you get all the detail without?
Well, she said she doesn't, which is like, I know it's hard. I
don't know. She was going over some of those drawings that she had of her.
She'd go back in.
Right? She was going over the same spot several times because there were a lot more lines.
Doing this, she does it all the time, and like she has that whole book. So I had to remind myself, I had to like set up a still life, but then I went back in and painted it because
nice.
Oh, that's really cool.
A picture and a vase with a feather and this, but it was hard. But I was like, I want to use my paints. So
yeah, and I should do it more. Yeah, so it's like it's nice that there's just been these little activities to be like these are things you can just do. It's not like today we're going to work on this. Yeah, like your Inktober, like we're gonna make this kind of ink drawing or whatever. It's like
that was
not like I only do that challenge that day. Like throughout this time, I can keep doing these things and start to incorporate them. So that's gonna be interesting.
She doesn't actually do her first art thing until day 8, which is tomorrow.
Oh, really?
And it's a watercolor color study.
Right.
And I thought that was really cool. I looked ahead a little bit.
I looked to see what. Although I loved the like checking out your local library, I was like, well, we can't really do this right now.
Yeah.
But I loved watching it, and then I've been taking pictures of like all the little free libraries I see, because I'm like, but that's something I could make a collage of.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a cool and great idea. I was just like, well, there's like virtual libraries, so I'm like, oh, look at you.
Oh,
so I drew one and
cute.
I took some pictures, because I was like, what can I do that's
Lucy wins.
Lucy wins. Lucy wins challenge day 7.
Well, this is the challenge I'm coming out of, where it's like I had to get all the things out. So,
That was, for that one, I looked at the stuff that I didn't know our library did. Like, so I dove a little deeper into the archives and was looking for like pictures and articles on different topics. I like searched cats just to see what would come up. And I found the one picture that was posted at the Pittsfield branch of the staff area that was a maid of the 1950s vacuuming around a cat. And I don't know why I found that so funny at the time, but it just was that because that was one of the first 3 or 4 things that popped up. I was just like, I remember that. That's really cute. So, and then digging into, because I have an Ypsilanti card also because I live in Ypsilanti, digging into what Ipsy has for their digital offerings. And then making a list of the things that I wanted to look at their branches of the ones that I haven't been to, because I've only been to one of their 3 branches. So it's like these are things that I can do in the future and kind of be cognizant of now. May not necessarily get to do them for another couple months yet, but it was still really cool to think about.
Yeah.
That was Heidi said earlier, there was one video where like, become a collector, think about your collections. And Heidi was like, Nancy, I thought of you and your yarn. My cabinet's full, finally. I don't have any more room.
So you're done.
Because I bought more yarn.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
I have a problem. But they were really bright, and I was very excited about them. So.
And then you probably felt validated too when you were like, it's a collection, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, because she was talking about like, you look at this with like an editor's eye. Mm-hmm. So whether you're consciously or unconsciously, you decide what's in your collections and what you do collect and what you gravitate towards. And like thinking about that was helpful to kind of help me evaluate what do I want to keep and what do I want to get rid of. Because the other thing that I did earlier this week was a full inventory of all my DMC cotton floss. So I found a spreadsheet that somebody had made of all of the different colorways, because there's DMC has released 2 new collections of floss. One was just regular cotton colors to fill out their color values, And then the second was they call it their étoile floss. It's a cotton floss with like not like a tinsel, but like a sparkle thread in it. And it's really fluffy. It's really pretty. I haven't bought any of it yet because I don't generally use metallic threads. But it's a much bigger spreadsheet than the one that I had. So I went through and redid my inventory of what all I have to figure out what I don't have. And because ever since I was very small, that was one of my things that I wanted was one of each of all the DMC colors. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why that's the one thing that I gravitated towards from being very small, but I have all but like maybe 20 of them.
Wow.
So, and there's 480 colors. But yeah, that was another big collection for me was the cotton floss.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That was a cool activity and a thought exercise.
Yeah, I think the
That's
idea of like curating something that you, just because you collect yarn doesn't mean you want all the yarn.
Yes.
Right? Like, so I thought that was an interesting way to look at collections you have or collections you're gonna make going forward. So
yeah, because that's I don't know, redoing my crafting space, kind of that I've talked about this before, but like going through and deciding what I want to keep and what I want to get rid of, how do I organize all of it, that, you know, how do I set this up to be the most conducive to my creative process? So I feel like I've already done some of these things, so it's kind of just revisiting them and rethinking about them in a different way, which I think is fun. I enjoy that. So
yeah, I do too. It's
really good. I think it's a good start to the challenge, and I'm excited for the rest of the month. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
So what have you guys been working on in the last week?
Basically just
anything other than work.
So I have now one more row of lace and then the binding off. So I was like, I'm right there. I just need to do it. Yeah. So, and at one point there was like, I came up one stitch short and I was just like, you know what? I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just going to force a stitch in there somewhere and we're going to keep going because it's one stitch and it won't be noticed where it is. So
yeah. I've done that. I've done that like 2 rows from the end. I'm 1 stitch off. We're just going to put a yarn over in here or make
I mean, you can like, or do 2 together if you have one. Yeah. It's just at that point, who's going to know that, you know? No.
Yeah. So that's.
Yeah, I've still been knitting that same Olia shawl. What do we call it?
Close enough. Olia. I don't know. I was calling it Olia until I actually looked
at it. It's so deceptive because you think that you're close to the end because you've done all those things. And then it's like, you're actually going to repeat this last part 8 more times. And it's like, that's actually 48 rows. So it's like, okay, wow.
Yeah. So like the pattern is really short when it's written, but it's that 8 more times of a 4 row repeat. It's just like, you're killing me here. And
because I was using scrap yarn kind of to begin with, I ran out of my main color. So I had to switch, which is fine. It's just totally different. So it's like part of it.
Yeah.
It's like going from a white speckled thing to a pink speckled thing, which I think it looks cool, but it's gonna be my own at this point.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of like that, but no, I was doing a lot with the challenge stuff, and then I did actually get to some of the color work with this cowl.
Wow. Look at that.
So one thing that I didn't realize and I wasn't anticipating is like I've done 2 stranded color work before. This is 3 stranded color work, and that was hard. I didn't like that at all. I think I've kind of figured it out, but at the same time I was just like, why did I do this to myself?
Yeah.
I'm still kind of figuring out the tension, and it's not perfect. I'm not ripping it out and doing it over again.
Oh, it's not so. I have a cowl I did that's 3 colors, and I mean I like it, but it's like the tension thing was so hard for me, and I can see how like it's like you can see my learning process through it, but I don't think it's worth ripping it out because I don't necessarily know that that's going to change your tension. It's going to make you more tense. So you're going to get back in there, just doing things you're doing before, you know.
Well, and it's also like, if I'm going to learn tension for color work for anything, I want to do it in a project like this where you don't have to worry about gauge.
Right.
Because like there's a couple sweater patterns that I want to do that are stranded color work that gauge is very important for. Those ones, if I have to go back and rip those out, that's going to be devastating, and I don't want to like put myself through that. So I would rather work out the kinks for it now than have to do it during one of those big projects when it's really going to be, frogging it back is going to be much more stressful and feel like I haven't gotten anywhere. I did actually have to explain to Chris what frogging was, and he, for a second, he was really mad at me of like, why? So for folks that aren't knitters, when we say frog things, we mean to rip it out. And it's so we rip it, and it sounds like ribbit.
Yeah.
That's why it's called frogging. Because I like to use puns on him, and then he gets really mad at me. It's like a play fighting thing of like, why would you do this to me? So he wasn't really mad. It's more of a play fighting thing of like, get out, leave. Yeah. The terrible pun.
Like, it's not mine. I'm just.
No. Yeah, I'm just telling you, I'm just calling it like I see it. It's just the way it is.
This community creators.
Yeah, that was very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I can't think of anything else other than trying not to melt in the heat.
Yeah,
Can't think of anything else that I've done. I'm almost done with the paint by number, the peacock that we're working on. Be excited when that's finished. But other than that, I've just been working a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Well, I took a couple days off, so and during that time I did not really do a lot of crafting. So because it was our anniversary, like we saw some family, we did some other things, I did some reading, so it's just been kind of like not doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need a break every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I love crafting all the time, I do need to take breaks. So
I know. Yeah, I took a break from pom-poms this weekend. I've been trying to do like make one and trim one every weekend. Like have one wrapped, trimmed and out. But this weekend I was like, you know what? I didn't get to that, and that's okay.
That's good.
So, for my Pom-Pom Garland that will be finished someday, because at the rate that I'm making pom-poms.
Well, I was finishing up programs. I think that's also what happened. I had a bunch to do, and I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do for my screen printing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I made a drawing, and then I was painting it on with a glue, and I'm just like, I don't know if this is going to work. Like, this is so I'm like in that stage of development. I'm in research and development right now, so it's like,
Yeah.
Because I'm worried, like, the screen isn't pulled tight enough, or the hose, because it's pantyhose, and it's just like, how do you make it tight enough? And is this too complicated to design? So
I'm really excited for that video.
Yeah,
I want to try that. I don't know that I want to go through the trial and error process, so anything you need, Heidi, to help with that trial and error process, you let me know.
Well, I think even I've seen blogs, right, and people have done it, and they're like, this is how you do it, and it's very straightforward, and it's like, but I still think you have to play with it yourself to get it to work. I don't know.
I would think that there's a little bit of trial and error with that.
Yeah.
Because you can't, I don't know, because the thing about it, like with embroidery, if I get the question constantly of like, how tight do you hoop your fabric? How tight do you pull your stitches? And there's a point, I can explain it to a point, but a lot of it is just trial and error of like, you're going to have to figure out how tight to pull the fabric. You're going to have to figure out how tight to pull the stitches and why you don't want to do things too tight or too loose.
Yeah.
So it's like that teaching thing that we've talked about more than once of, there's only so many things you can actually teach. There's more things that have to be picked up in practice.
Yeah, definitely. So,
yeah.
And you hate putting time into something where you're like, I'm going to fail at this. And nobody knows but me, but somehow then I become embarrassed about it or something. And it's just like so silly. And I don't know what I want to print it on. I probably should just do it on paper. I'm like, oh, should I find fabric, or I have t-shirts, or I have tote bags. It's like, oh my God, just keep it simple. Just do the thing.
Yeah.
But
You can print it on paper, yeah, and just suggest
print it on
give all those
paper
other things as
today.
suggestions. Right?
For today. So
Well, that was when I started doing the daily practice challenges. I was like, I have this really gorgeous watercolor book that I want to put things in, but I want to save it. It's beautiful. I don't want to use it yet. I'm not ready.
Oh, I was trying to convince myself to go out and buy a new journal because I have one that's like half the pages were used or taken out for other. Anyway, yeah, I'm like, oh, I should go get a new journal book. Oh, I should. It's like, no, just start with.
I know. I was trying to do
with what you have.
Yeah, I'm just using some big old spiral bound thing, but I was like, oh, I should get something neat and compact. But not now.
Well, there's that new project shininess that it's like, oh, I want everything new. I want it all to like all new things and all.
It's gonna help me be more organized about like my process and all this stuff. So
I think that every time, and every time it doesn't. So
No, then it's just more stuff too.
Yeah. So with this one, I was like forcing myself, like, no, I have to use things that I already have. I'm gonna put my foot down with my, new shiny need to buy. Just use what you've already got. So I'm happy with it so far.
Yeah.
No, I think that was partially in our choosing of this. It's like we wanted to be like, we have these items, we don't have to stretch ourselves to get anything more to do a challenge. So
Yeah.
Save it for later.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I think that pretty well wraps up our chat for today.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, I think so. Thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate you watching the video. Please feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out some of the other stuff on AADL TV. We will see you next week 2 weeks from now with episode 16, because we're going to be going to 2 weeks between videos from here forward now that we're starting to go back to normal processes at the library. In the meantime, until we see you next time, stay safe and don't forget to love each other. Bye.
Bye.